Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tuesdays on the Daily Huddle, where Tara and I talk about everything to do with relationships and communication. And today we're going to talk about connection and how do you define connection? So, Tara, take us away. I don't know what you're going to say about this. So, I think
Yeah.
this could be a very juicy conversation.
Well, I'd like to first share a little bit of the inspiration behind it. I'm a student of someone who wrote the book Your Brain at Work. And of course, his name is escaping me right now, but he does a LinkedIn Live every Friday, and he has an organization called the Neuro Leadership Institute, and they do a LinkedIn Live every Friday. And during this, so sometimes if I'm eating lunch and want to take a break, I'll turn it on, and I turned it on last Friday, and they were defining connection. And the reason why, and this is what got me excited about it and got me thinking about us in the Daily Huddle, the reason why they thought it was important to define human connection, or they just use the word connection, is because as we, I believe, are all aware, teams are struggling with connection today. And so the antidote to that is for a lot of companies, they just kind of toss a potential solution into it, like putting everybody in a little Zoom room, at cocktail hour, or even getting people together for a ball game or some type of event, hoping that connection will spark and that will build trust. But it takes so much more intentionality than that. So they broke down connection for teams into 4 different areas, which, spoiler alert, I'm not going to give those.
Such a tease. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And I'll tell you why. Because I did my own research and I thought it would be more valuable to our Daily Huddle family to talk about 4 pillars of human connection that is very much focused on relationship, not necessarily in a corporate team setting. So I've done a lot of research because, as you know, Kathryn, and many of you know, I teach about joy and human connection. And I'm so, so, so passionate about it because I believe that it heals us. It heals us from, it can heal us from anything from addiction to anxiety to heartache. I'm not saying it's a panacea, but I am saying that deep, honest, truthful human connection physiologically and biologically have the power to heal. So before I share these pillars and a little bit of information, I really am looking forward to this being a rich conversation. I want to hear from you, Kathryn, and how you define human connection and why it matters to you.
That's a good question. Human connection. Well, I think there's a lot of different types of human connection, right? I mean, we're connecting right now. You can connect in a conversation, in a coffee shop, with a grocery store clerk. But I don't know. I think that in all of those, there's a heart connection, even if it's just brief. Anytime we're in someone's space and connected to somebody else, like I think we are humans and we are emotional beings. So I guess that's what I'm more focused on today is not those sort of like connections or the touch points when you see people, but it's like that deep human connection. Like we talk a lot about vulnerability because I can be connected to a lot of people, but I still could feel lonely. And so when I have
Mhm.
that deep connection to another human where I'm honest and I'm being vulnerable and I'm letting them see who I am and I'm not judging who they are, I'm listening to them. That to me is the good stuff. That's like the really deep, rich, good stuff.
Well, you couldn't have defined it better, I think, because where we're going to go today is, how can we have more of that in our lives? Some intentionality around it, I think, is a big part of it. Um, You know what I find interesting though about when we do have vulnerable, safe, trusted uh, connection at the onset of it, I think it takes energy.
Mhm.
It takes a lot from us to create that, but it frees up energy from something else. And when I'm around you, because of I know our connection and our trust and our just beautiful connection, I don't have to have the energy to try to show up and present to you a person that maybe I want you to know, or a side of me that I think will respect you, or an accomplishment that I think will elevate your image of me. Those things all take energy too. And so, what I want to really shine a light on today is where are we putting our energy and how is it affecting our relationships?
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah. So I read an article, and this, I love where I found this particular article because I read a lot. This one is in, and it's not pronounced like this, but it's in the Hindu Times, but it's Hindu Stanton Times. I don't know how you pronounce it. But I love that I found it there because it said to me that healthy, growing, fulfilled relationships are truly universal. I don't know a whole lot about the Hindu culture, but the author of this is from Delhi, um, and it tells us that it's not just the way we see healthy relationships in our culture, or even in whatever our potential religion might be. So I want to share what she has uncovered and then have a conversation around it. She says that there are 4 pillars of a healthy relationship, and the 4 pillars are as follows: 1, emotional connection.
Mhm.
The second is mutuality. The third, and I used to hate this term until I read this article, healthy boundaries. And the fourth, I used to hate this term even more until I read this article, self-care. So the first 2 I was down with, emotional connection and mutuality. But the second 2, healthy boundaries and self-care, I was like, oh, yeah, here we go again. But it turns out that those are universal. So I would like to explore these one at a time. And I think it might be fun to go backwards with the one I internally rolled my eyes at the most.
Let's do it.
So,
Let's start there.
what do you, Kathryn, what do you think that self-care has to do with healthy relationships?
Well, first of all, if you're not doing it and you're stressed out, you're not going to be able to connect with another human at a, at a very good level is what I'm thinking, but it's not the right word. You know what I mean? Like I'm quick triggered on my anger, all of that stuff. So that's number one. I guess at the bottom of it, it's like with self-care, we get to present like the best parts of ourselves to the people that we love the most.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the opposite, which is what a lot of us do. We present our worst to the people we love the most.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I was reading it, my brain goes to, oh, go to a spa, slow down, get a foot massage, whatever. I mean, those things are important. I'm not dismissing that at all. But today I learned that those things also have a connection to the people that we love and showing up to be our best, just like you said. And that
Mhm.
if we don't take care of ourselves, um, that we teeter on burnout. And what I especially loved about really giving this some thought is I have struggled with like defending why I need to take care of myself. Like, feeling a little bit like, oh, I'm taking time away from something that I should be accomplishing or something that I should be doing for other people. But what I've learned, and this just really helped me to see it, is since I have communicated my need to exercise to my husband, if it doesn't come in the most inopportune time, he still supports me and promotes that I take care of myself by getting out and exercising. He doesn't have that same real need for cardiovascular exercise like I do, I don't think. But now he doesn't feel like I'm taking time away from him. He feels like I'm going to do something that's going to bring back the best version of Tara. And I can get on board with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a great way to look at it too. I mean, it is, well, I was going to say it's selfless, but it's also selfish of him because he wants the best of you, right? And
Yep.
so, yeah, I love that.
I liken it to I think I had traveled to your house several times when I was on this 45-day commitment to do 45 days in a row of this 45 minutes of yoga. I mean,
Yep.
I took my mat to California, I took it to Park City, and I took it on vacation. And Mike, because we have over time working and always working to build a healthy relationship, he would be like kicking me out of the bed, go get out, do your yoga.
Oh, I love
And it
that.
felt like love. It really did.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's one. So if y'all have any thoughts on self-care, feel free to raise a hand or chime in. But if not, I'm going to go to the second one that I rolled my eyes at. And you hear people talk about this a lot. The second pillar is actually the third, but I'm going backwards of healthy relationships. She said was boundaries.
Mhm.
And Maybe it's just because I hear it so often. I tend to give an eye roll to things that I think are become so overused that you stop to really take time to define it. But I'd love to hear, again, Kathryn, what boundaries mean to you. And then I'll share why this, again, resonated with me and hopefully with our listeners.
Mhm. Well, it's funny. The first thing that comes up is that is self-care. It's
Yep.
like it's loving myself enough to say, actually, this is what I need versus I hear you saying you need this and, like bending over backwards to give it. And I think boundaries are, I haven't defined them for myself in a long time, like what is a boundary? But I think it is giving myself space really to be my best self for the things that I need, whether that's an emotion, like I can't get in this conversation with you, or no, I can't travel and meet you there because that'll make me too tired, or I can't go to dinner because, all of those are healthy boundaries. And that would give me space. Again, it's interesting to be my best self. I think both of these are really directly linked, the self-care, because if I don't, and I'm a pleaser, right? Grew up really codependent relationships, very much a pleaser. So if somebody asks me to do something, I'm going to try and do it. But then if it's beyond a boundary, then I'm not my best self and I'm not presenting. And then I slip back into those old ways of like not being my best self with the people that I love the most.
I love that. Yes, it really resonates with what I read. And the part of it that has really helped me is I think I saw boundaries before I read this and just like the courage to say no and to set limits. Like
Mhm.
someone asks you to drive them to the grocery store and you just keep doing it and keep doing it because their car's in the shop. I don't know, I'm just making this up. And eventually you're like, nope, that's my limit. I'm not doing this anymore. Get your car fixed. That's not really what I uncovered the meaning to this was. And here's what I loved about it. It said that in order to have healthy boundaries, that we need to be able to define our values, not only define them, but communicate them.
Hmm.
So rather than, here would be a good example. I like to eat healthy most of the time. I don't like to go to restaurants where there's just options for pub food every once in a while, but I don't like to do that. And so an immature, less evolved me who didn't know how to set boundaries would go along maybe to a pub that Mike wanted to go to and kind of just be a little bit pissy and passive aggressive as the only options were fried chicken and French fries.
Mhm.
Whereas now, setting a boundary would sound more like, I am devoted to healthy eating and I don't want to go to restaurants where there's not a healthy option. I just don't want to go. And that's important to me because my health is important to me. And then we're able to, when you know someone's values, that causes respect. And that's not a real example. But I think that what I'm getting at is when we don't know our values and then communicate them to people with whom we're in a relationship with, not just a partner, but anybody that we have a relationship with, what happens is resentment builds up. And then those passive aggressive tendencies come into play. And that's why I just through this reading and this conversation have become a fan of healthy boundaries. It's not just saying no, it's knowing what you stand for, knowing what your beliefs are, having the courage to communicate them. And then you feel very, very much validated in setting a boundary and saying, you know what, that's just not in line with my values as we've discussed, and I'm going to pass this time. So
I
I love
think
that.
I do too. And I think what you said, that's what was coming up for me before you said it about the passive aggressive and being resentful, because I think that is what happens for me. I don't know if that happens for everybody. It happens for me if I don't hold a boundary or if I have an expectation that I haven't communicated and I'm expecting it to be a certain way. And then that passive aggressive comes out and it's like, wait a minute, I didn't say this is what I want. I didn't communicate it, but I'm expecting this person to do something, in some sort of a way. So I love hearing that boundaries can prevent that. I hate that when I do that, when I act that way or I act a way that isn't my best self because I hate that. So it's like if we can avoid that, it'd be awesome. But knowing that healthy boundaries can prevent that, and to lead to just really direct communication, it's like so freeing.
Absolutely. Yes. And think about what, we're talking about how to build healthy relationships and we're bringing boundaries into it. I mean, it feels like it's got friction, like those seem like cognitively dissonant, but they're not. They build connection and respect. What you said reminds me of, we had a guest on once who's a friend of mine named Burke Brown. And I've heard him say this several times. He says, we tend to expect ourselves in other people or from other people. And that's basically meaning that we're inflicting our values on other people. Just because I want to get out and have cardio before coffee in the mornings does not mean that Mike should jump on that bandwagon. That's not who he is.
Yeah.
And it's not fair for me to expect that from him. It's not fair for me to expect a certain level of connection from people who that's not who they are.
That is such a good point, because I think sometimes I do that without realizing it, like that I've put an expectation or assuming that it should be a certain way, or don't look at the other person as like complete and whole and naturally creative, resourceful and whole in themselves, and go, oh yeah, that's totally fine to stay up until 2 a.m. and do what you want to do, because that's your time. Like, right. Like I don't operate that way. I'm a morning person, but if, like, anyway, it's kind of a bad example, but I just love that like looking at another person and going, and not judging that and being like, those are your values. Yeah, that's great.
Someone very close to me is struggling in her somewhat new relationship. And the issue is that she loves very deep connected conversation. And the person that she's dating, he doesn't understand why it's so important to her. And so it just definitely makes for conflict, because she wants to go into these deep connections and discuss emotions and why we do what we do. And he wants to have a good time. It's causing some challenges. So we need to know who we are and what we stand for. So, do you remember what the second one was? You probably don't.
I wrote it down. Mutuality.
Oh. Yes, mutualism. I love this one. It makes me think of something that my husband has been saying to me of what he believes makes a strong. He's very matter-of-factly, very black and white, and he has been saying the same thing about what he thinks makes a strong relationship for as long as I can remember. And it is this: he believes that if both people strive to give more than they receive, that will give you a healthy relationship.
Wow, really?
Yeah, has said it off and on as long as I've known him. I mean, it's
That's
just
amazing. First of all, I wouldn't have thought that would come out of Mike.
Really?
Mike. Yeah, it's just like, well, I've never, he's just, hey girl.
Yep.
But I love that, because I think so often that it's more about getting, like, if we're trying to get love, approval, acceptance our way, whatever it is, and if we just flip it and what can we give, it really does come back to us tenfold.
So when I read a little bit more about this, it was explaining that it's a symbiotic relationship where both people are feeling benefited. They're reaping benefits, just like relationships of nature. And so I kind of have a question about this one. So I love my husband's take on it, and it seems like that would just make it work beautifully. But have you ever found yourself in a relationship that feels very imbalanced, like you're the one doing all the giving? And so I kind of wonder, do you abandon the relationship? Do you tell the person? Like, how would you incorporate more of a mutual relationship into one that feels imbalanced?
Yeah, it's a great question, because also there's ebbs and flows, right? There's seasons. If somebody's struggling and you want to be giving more to them at that moment, but that it'll come back the other way. I think this is where like a lot of the other stuff that we talk about comes into play, which is communication. And just, it's fine if one person is struggling or having a tough time and you want to be there for them, and just naming it, because then you're not getting resentful. And being vulnerable, because I think it's also okay to say, this doesn't feel great. Like, it feels like this is all one-sided. Is there something we can do if that's the case? Like, what's going on? So I don't know. I don't really have an answer other than transparency, vulnerability, and communication.
You know what? You actually helped me to clarify the answer. I think that if you know the person and you trust it's a season, then so what? You go and be there for them and let it be.
Yeah.
But if it's always that way, if that's their MO, then that's maybe we can't save the world. And that's where I think a different form of what I would call a healthy boundary would come in, because I used to have a friend that I talked to her at least once a week, and it was just the most draining experience. Just trying to lift her up and motivate her and give her ideas and help her to see things in a more positive way. And they were always met with opposition and tears. And I finally just had drained out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is about healthy boundaries.
There's another piece to this, which I also find really interesting, and it talks about celebrating each other's achievements and growth and fulfillment. And if I'm totally honest, if I'm really struggling and someone is soaring, that's hard for me. I would do it, but it's hard. Is it hard for you if you're in a bad place and somebody else is like just crushing life?
Oh, yeah, I think I can, yes, I've had that experience before for sure. And it's just a lot of judgment too. Like if you're feeling bad and you're not in a great place, it's just like, what, oh, and then to me, it like makes me feel worse sometimes, but you do want to support the person. So yeah, I think it does take a big person to be in that situation and still honor and support the other person.
Thank you for saying that, because I don't like when I see that in myself, when I maybe feel a little bit more envy than happy for them.
Right.
I'm still going to give my best to celebrate their achievement, but there is a part of me that I don't like that feeling. I'm not proud of it. But it's a part of me. Sometimes it doesn't take over.
Well, and I think it's important to recognize what are human traits, because that is completely human. And I would guarantee that everyone on the planet has felt some version of that at some point or another. So it's not unique to you. And in that case, to me, that always helps me, because I always make up that, oh, this is a terrible trait of mine. And oh my gosh, why can't I change that? But really, if it's just a human trait, it's just an emotion that we have, it's natural, then it's kind of like, oh, okay. And then I can let it go and I don't have to be hanging on to it and making it a big bad thing.
You're so smart. Thank
You
you.
give me great compliments, which is why I stick around. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, we're getting close to the time, and I still have one more, and it's really the crowning pillar of all that we're talking about, and that is emotional connection. I read in this, I mean, it's kind of obvious emotional connection, but a level of intimacy is, I think, individual to each person. But what I really loved about what I read was that this does not happen on its own. It takes intention and dedication to keep an emotional connection. And for me, the most beautiful thing about a truly connected emotional relationship is freedom. You feel free to not filter your words, to know that the person loves you, they know your values, and if things don't come out right or you joke about something that's off color, they know your heart, they know what you stand for. And to me, it's freedom. What about you?
That's really powerful. That wouldn't have been what I would answer, but that's really powerful. I'm going to think about that a little bit more. So again, I think it goes back to what I first said, because honestly, vulnerability is hard for me, especially when it's something I'm uncomfortable with, or especially when it feels off balance, like you described. So
Mhm.
I think, so that for me is being vulnerable to breach that connection, just because that's a growing edge of mine.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I
fantastic.
guess that shows us that it can be different for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at time, I even made a note, and this was my own note, to grow an emotional connection. It takes courage.
It does.
Sometimes we have to go where it's not comfortable, but if we do it well, it's always I feel like it's always worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the courage part is right on, because it can feel to me, it feels like dangerous to give my whole heart away to someone. Like, what if they smash it or drop it, or intentionally or unintentionally? That's a lot. So there's a risk there, and feeling and getting hurt, right? Nobody wants to get hurt. So I think there's a fear of, at least for me, of getting hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it does take courage.
Oh, well, I wonder if anybody has any takeaways from these pillars of healthy relationships before we have to sign off. Let's see.
Tara,
Yeah.
before you sign off, I couldn't help but see the parallel between personal relationships and teams relationships. And you kind of put the kibosh on it at the beginning, right? I ain't gonna do that.
Yeah.
Could you take a moment and create the parallel that that you see between the two? Because I felt that everything you created could be appropriate in a business setting.
Definitely, it's not what I uncovered, and I'm going to go on memory here, but I would first totally agree that all of this does apply to teams, with, some tweaks to it, but they all certainly make sense to make sure relationships are mutually beneficial, to make sure that people understand your values so that you can have boundaries, that you're going to walk away from the team and take care of yourself when you need to, et cetera. The Neuro Leadership Institute talked about knowing the expectations of a leader, knowing exactly what your role is, some things like that. And I'm happy to share those with you. It was really quite a fascinating. I totally loved it. They're not big storytellers, oddly, but they have so much data. And they really do their homework, just a brilliant organization. And they thought it was necessary to break down human connection. And I'm like a journal junkie, but I don't have that journal up here. So I'll send it to you.
Please do share. Please do
I totally
share.
will. I'll
Thank
send you a
you.
quick email. Yes. And Cece, I see your message, so don't go away. I'm gonna reply to it after we sign off. But Kathryn, any last words about healthy relationships and human connection?
It's worth it. Take the risk.
I love it. Invest in it. Absolutely. So just to dust off as a reminder, the 4 pillars that I uncovered that got me really excited today are emotional connection, mutualism, healthy boundaries, and self-care, which now I have fully redefined. So I'm going to close us out with our tenets. And I want to start by reminding everyone that I think love's at the core of everything. So lead with love, be out there giving it and accepting love. If you don't receive it, you certainly can't give it away, which takes me to our next tenet, which is to give. Make sure and give whatever it is you might have today. It might be resources, it might be talent, it might be time, it might be a listening ear, but give. And remember, don't take life too seriously. Let yourself laugh, throw your head back, and let your endorphins fly. Take care of your body by getting your rest, eating more plants, stressing less, and also get up off that booty and move that body. We thank you all for being here on the Daily Huddle, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kathryn. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, family.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Excellent job.